Hello everyone. Hope you guys are doing good. I'm Mambo Soleil. We are here for Astro Hour. Sorry if I came on a little awkward. I didn't realize that the StreamYard. That's all I'll say. But hello everyone. Welcome to Astro Hour. We typically do these segments on Thursdays. Astro Hour is a segment that I do every other Thursday typically. And I do it in exchange with Happy Hour. Happy Hour is where we talk about pop culture, geopolitics, anything going on within the zeitgeist that may have spiritual or social impact that we should be aware of. But Astro Hour is where I do a little bit of an astrological breakdown of different placements, energies, and just what's going on in the world in terms of the planets and the stars and how that impacts us. So I wanted to get one in before the holiday because I know that the next 2 weeks things are going to be really, really busy for people. Also, I am doing this on a Friday, and I typically do it on Thursdays, so we may not have a ton of people in the room tonight, but I wanted to go ahead and get it out of the way anyway. I was hesitant to do an overview of the new moon because the new moon starts literally in about 40 minutes or so. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway because it starts in about 40 minutes or so. And some of you who are watching tonight may be people who do new moon rituals, are in need of some sort of new moon ritual or healing. So hopefully, even though it is a little bit late, my hope is that talking about the new moon will give you a little bit of insight. And then I also want to talk about Venus in Cancer because Venus in Cancer starts on December 24th, which is just a few days away. It's literally right, I think, the day after the beginning of the winter solstice. So I think that's a really important energy for us to be aware of. And then if I have the bandwidth after talking about those two things, I will talk about the full moon that's happening on January 3rd. It's 2 weeks away, but the more time we have to prepare for it, the better it will be for us. Oh, La Balin says that their Venus is in Cancer. So if there's anybody that needs this conversation, it's probably you, right? La Balin is pointing out something that's really important. Part of why it's necessary to know your natal chart is because when there is a big astrological event, and those planets are back in the places where they are in your natal chart, that's going to impact you very heavily, right? So Venus is entering Cancer on the 24th. La Balin's Venus is in Cancer. So there's going to be a lot of breakthrough, a lot of discovery, a lot of energies moving in and around her life. So anyone who's watching this either live or in the replay, if you are interested in learning more about your natal chart, I offer natal chart readings. I'm also currently offering 2026 forecast readings. The full version does come with a natal chart breakdown. But I'll talk about services, things that I'm offering, sales, gift cards, all that stuff a little bit later. I first want to go through the overview, and then you guys probably are familiar with the format by now. Once I'm done with the overview, I do take questions from the audience if people want to get them. I offer discounted readings whenever I do Astro Hour for $11, in exchange for a love offering of $11.11. That is a steal. My readings run anywhere from $85 to $175. So being able to get a 3-card reading from me at that small of a love offering it's an opportunity, right? But anyway, let's talk about this new moon that's going to start literally, it's 8:05, 38 minutes. In 38 minutes, because at 8:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have a new moon in Sagittarius. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about why that is important. This represents the start of a fresh and new lunar cycle. This is a lunar cycle that's going to be with us until the full moon comes on January 3rd, and we're going to talk about that a little later. Sagittarius, let's see. Some of the core themes that are coming up in our life and that we should be paying attention to and evaluating with this new moon in Sagittarius. What are the new beginnings that we have that are allowing us to expand our vision? I need all the new beginnings I can get. Hello. Hello, absolutely. So this is a moon. Sagittarius is the sign of innovation, right? They're ruled by Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. So this is a really amazing opportunity in terms of manifestation, in terms of creating an opportunity for new beginnings in our life. So one of the first core themes we need to be aware of and giving space to with this particular new moon that starts tonight is, again, new beginnings that call for big vision. Sagittarius being the sign of the truth seeker, of belief systems, of exploration, again, that Jupiter energy of expansion, right? Also the sign of higher learning and adventure. My apologies. So this new moon emphasizes us resetting our intentions. 2025 was a busy year. It was a busy but slow year. If you feel like the year kicked your back in, you are not alone. I don't know how many of you guys follow Chinese astrology, but it was the year of the wooden snake. So wood is, I don't know if you know this, it's not very malleable. It's very hard. It's very relentless. And snakes are about shedding and release. So 2025 has been a tough year for many people. And I think a lot of folks have been stuck in survival mode. So the gift of this new moon is that it gives us an opportunity to really reset our intentions, really have a reset about what it is we want, and why it is we're going after these particular things that we believe that we want. So it gives us opportunity to reset our intentions in ways that expand our perspective and that align with our greater sense of purpose. It pulls us out of the energy of routine. Again, when we are in survival mode, that Hierophant energy comes into play, right? Routines, relying heavily on routines, discipline, and obedience just to survive, just to make it from one end of the week to the other. The Sagittarius new moon comes along and it asks us to seek meaning over routine, right? So what is the meaning? What is the purpose? Are we just doing things by rote, again, in order to survive? And if so, can we pause and ask ourselves, what is the significance? We're being invited to go beyond our habits and really ask what really matters. Do the things that I do matter? Are the things that I'm allowing to take up the most of my time, the most of my energy important? Are they going to move me forward? Again, Sagittarius is expansion, right? Are they going to move me forward, or are they just literally helping me stay afloat? Those are things that are going to come up for us. And remembering that when you have a lunar transition, right? So yes, tonight is the new moon in Sagittarius, but we feel the impacts for at least 72 hours. So yes, we're doing this reading now, we're doing this conversation now, but these are things that you're going to grapple with at least until Sunday or Monday, right? Also, don't be surprised if you have a lot of restlessness as a result of this new moon. I slept like trash last night. I low-key barely slept. Woke up in the middle of the night, just could not settle my energy. And I hope that that doesn't happen again tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does, right? Because with that energy of expansion, with that energy of exploration and adventure, there's a natural restlessness to Sagittarius energy. It's actually a hallmark of the sign. They low-key don't know how to sit still, right? Fire signs in general have a hard time sitting still. And Sagittarians have a desire to always be in motion. So what that means for this particular new moon is that it's going to stir up a lot of confusion, right? Anywhere there's a lack of clarity, right, and we are uncertain about our direction, that's going to cause a lot of anxious energy as well as restlessness, right? It can be easy to be frustrated by that, but use that restlessness as a form of information. let it teach you something, okay? Use it to channel it into creative tension, right? I did that. I got up and I made a bunch of fucking body washes in the middle of the night last night, right? Because it was on my agenda to do it over the weekend anyway. And because I couldn't sleep, I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and clean and anoint my space and get the work done that I got to get out of the way over the weekend, right? So what are the ways that you can really channel the restlessness into creative energy or creative tension so it doesn't just show up as confusion or distraction? Those are the three main themes that are going to be coming up for us as a result of the Sagittarius new moon, okay? Let's see. What are some things that you should be doing during the Sagittarius new moon? It's a great time to set your intentions and reflect on the truth and purpose of those intentions, right? Again, I think sometimes when people do new moon manifestations, and when I was early in my spiritual journey, I was very, very guilty of this. So when I say it, please know that there's no judgment. I'm not shooting shots, but it's really easy for people who are early in their spiritual journey, or low-key people who are just disconnected from their spiritual journey. Remember, we just talked about people who are moving by habit or rote. It's really easy for them to use the new moon as like an opportunity to create wish lists for Santa, right? They can do a very wish list based form of manifestation. I don't think that's the most productive or even effective way to use this particular moon. So rather than making like a wish list of goals, think about the seeds you need to plant to expand your worldview, right? Again, Sagittarius is expansion. And for some of us, the reasons why the wish lists don't work is because we're asking for things that are really short-sighted, right? We're asking for things that may be too small. So if we could really use this new moon to expand our vision, to really challenge ourselves to think about and ask for more, and to think about how asking for more allows us to, or gives us the opportunity to get closer to our goals, I think that's a much better use of the influence of this moon, okay? So really spend time with your spiritual core thinking about the seeds you need to plant that are going to help align you with long-range significance and purpose, right? What's going to help you really expand your worldview so that you're not just asking for the same things over and over again, which can also cause a lot of anxiety. That's something I'm going to talk about in a future class. This is also an amazing time to really reevaluate your beliefs and your vision, okay? Some of us are tied to beliefs that no longer serve us. And because we have not the best understanding of shadow work, we don't understand that a part of personal development is bringing on new beliefs or challenging old beliefs, right? So this is an amazing time to ask yourself, what do I truly believe about my direction? What beliefs do I have about my direction and purpose in life that are outdated? They're not in alignment with me anymore. They don't fit right. And what needs to be updated? I think those are really, really important questions to be asking ourselves under this influence. This is also a really important time to cultivate clarity, right? There's a lot of Neptune activity happening also while the Sagittarian new moon is going on. And we know that Neptune can cause a lot of cloudiness, a lot of spiritual confusion. There is a fog that can make it hard for us to focus right now. So this is a really important time it's really important for us to take the time right now to clarify what's real versus what is idealized, right? What's concrete and what is rooted in fantasy or escapism. That is deeply important right now, okay? So that's it. That's all I'm going to say for right now about the new moon in Sagittarius. Let's take some time to talk about Venus in Cancer, or Capricorn rather, my apologies. December 24th, 2 days after the winter solstice, right? We have Venus entering Capricorn. Now, we know that Venus is the planet that governs love, attraction, also money. People forget that Venus is deeply important when it comes to your money. If you've ever gotten any astrological work done for me, you have heard me say, yes, it's great to know your Jupiter. It is great to know your Saturn because the Saturn is going to tell you about the blockages. But you need to understand your Venus, being that Venus is related to money and value. Value, okay? And with it being about value, it's also really about self-worth. Venus is not just about the love we attract from other people. It's about our self-love and the way that we carry ourselves. What makes us feel worthy? How do we create environments that reflect our sense of worthiness? All of that is tied to Venus, okay? So when Venus moves into Capricorn, the collective tone around relationships and resources gets really serious, right? We're called to be very intentional and discerning about what we love and what we value when Venus is in Capricorn. I misspoke earlier and said Venus in Cancer, but Venus is going to be in Capricorn in starting December 24th, okay? So this is not the most flashy or romantic aspect of Venus. This is about a very grown, grounded, long-term, discerning relationship with love and pleasure, okay? I don't know if I want to have that conversation. I'll have it. There's a lot of delusions crashing around love and love workings that have been done from a place of ill intention. And that makes sense, that being that we're only a few days away from Venus entering Capricorn, right? It gets very serious. It gets very real. Capricorn is very serious, very real, being that it's the divine masculine or the father of the zodiac, right? So some core themes that we are called to evaluate when Venus is in Capricorn. First one, commitment over chemistry. Commitment over chemistry. I'm going to repeat, commitment over chemistry. Attractions that last, that are stable, that thrive, are built or based rather in reliability, consistency, and effort, right? So don't be surprised if the relationships that were all about love bombing, that were all about chemistry, that were all about sparks in the beginning, don't be surprised if things start to get revealed about how finite they are when Venus enters Capricorn, okay? Relationships start to get evaluated through questions like, is this sustainable? Is this relationship sustainable? And when I say relationship, I don't mean just romantic. It could be a friendship. It can be a business collaboration, right? Is this sustainable? That's a question that we need to ask ourselves when Venus enters Capricorn. Can I build with this person? Is this partnership one that's going to allow me to build stable foundation? Or is it going to limit me and keep me small, right? Does this connection support my future? Will it allow me to move forward or will it stagnate me? Those are all really, really important questions. Bertal says this is coming up in terms of her work relationships. That makes a lot of sense. I'll say in the chat later, in the Vision of Dawn Tour chat later, where this is showing up in my life. I'm not going to share that. Love you all who are tuned in tonight, but there are certain things that I got to keep for the girls closest to me. But relationships may feel more serious under this influence, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. We don't like that, but it's not a bad thing at all, right? And the heaviness around these relationships is because we're made to evaluate what works, what's actually working in our life, what's going to bring sustainability. So don't be surprised if you've had a situationship that has ran its course, that is past its expiration date, but you've been trying to revive it and force life into it. Don't be surprised if once Venus enters Capricorn, you're over that shit, right? Situationships end often when Venus is in Capricorn, and that's because they become less tolerable. You want the real. You don't want the delusion anymore, right? Also, remembering that Venus being related to value and money, and Capricorn being dead serious about their money because they are the businessmen of the zodiac, right? This is going to be a time where we're thinking about money, value, and long-term security. Okay? Venus in Capricorn favors budgeting. If you've been avoiding doing any budgeting, this is a really important time to sit down and do it, especially because we are less than 2 weeks away from a new year, right? So this is a great energy to use for financial planning, budgeting, looking at the ways that you spend responsibly and affirming that, and then taking inventory of the ways you spend irresponsibly and cutting that shit off, okay? That's a very Venus in Capricorn thing. This is also a great time to invest in things that last, right? Education, gold, infrastructure, life skills. Some of you guys have been wanting to go back to school, and you've been avoiding it because you're afraid. Capricorn, again, the father, is going to get really serious and ask you, have you thought about your future? What are you doing to be disciplined about your future? So this is going to call you to really want to invest in furthering your education and certifications, okay? It's also a really powerful time to ask, am I honoring my worth, right? Am I honoring my worth? So Brital brought up her work relationships. Some of you guys who've been being called to leave your jobs or get promotions and you've been ignoring it out of fear, laziness, or whatever the fuck you've been ignoring it for, this is going to be a time where you really reevaluate that and you get serious about it. Those of you who own your own businesses, you haven't changed your prices in 3, 4, 5 fucking years. This is a time where you really start to evaluate your worth. Am I being reflected in my worth? And is that lack of reflection sustainable? How is it chopping me off at the knees? How is it putting me in a position where I can't progress financially? So reevaluating your prices for the business owners, but also for everyone. Thinking about the cost of your labor and setting up boundaries, right? Venus is not in Capricorn yet, but I've had to cuss out a couple of my clients because why are you texting me at 5 in the morning? Why are you texting me at 5 in the morning? Why are you asking me to do a same day reading for you at 10 o'clock at night? So I've had to really do a lot of boundary setting, right? In terms of my professional boundaries, in terms of what I accept in my business and in my clientele. So for those of you who are watching either live or in a replay, do not be surprised if that's a thing that comes up for you as well, okay? But the other theme, there are 2 more themes that come up with Venus being in Capricorn. And the third one is love as duty, right? Capricorns equate love with duty and care, right? They have a sense of responsibility. For Capricorns, responsibility is love. So their love shows up as acts of service, showing up even when it's inconvenient, emotional strength that's paired with quiet loyalty, emotional restraint paired with quiet loyalty. Of the 3 earth signs, those are hallmarks of both Capricorn and Taurus, okay? So both of the animal earth signs are very, very much about that, okay? Their feelings may not be loud, but they're very deep and they're very intentional. You know that when a Capricorn fucks with you, they fuck with you forever, right? So this energy rewards consistency over intensity, and it calls you to reflect over in your life. Where am I giving people too much just because they've shown up really intensely? And does that intensity translate to stability? Can I rely on this person? Are they consistent? Will they show up for me? Right? Those are all things that come up. And then we have boundaries as a love language, right? I just talked about how I had to do a lot of boundary setting this week with clients that think it's okay to text or call me at 5 a.m. or who think it's okay to ask me to do readings for them at 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's because some of you guys know I was recently very ill. Recently very, very ill. And I'm technically still recovering. You don't get over shingles overnight. The symptoms last anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks. So yes, it's very insensitive to ask anybody to do work for you last minute at 10 o'clock at night, but especially someone you know that needs their rest and recovery. I have a whole life. I'm laying up with my baby and I'm getting my phone going off with text messages and shit at 5 in the morning. He asks questions, right? It's very disrespectful. So boundaries as a love language comes up because Venus in Capricorn teaches us that saying no can be an act of self-respect. I value my business and I care about my clients, but you don't get to disrespect me just because you pay me money. Especially because I'm not going to go there, but you just don't, right? So that's something, an exercise of self-love. Understanding that your boundaries are a love language. Saying no is an act of self-respect. Everybody shouldn't have access to you all of the time. And people don't value things that they can have access to very easily, right? Overgiving will erode your value. I will repeat that. Overgiving will erode your value. And Venus in Capricorn really calls us to think about that, right? Love without limits becomes labor. I mentioned last night in the class I taught the viral clip going around of Dr. Simone basically being financially abused by her fucking entire family. Her sons are entitled. Her husband has no backbone. And they're sitting there telling her that she should basically commit to overworking herself past retirement in order to fund their lifestyle. Beautiful woman, deeply educated, but she has spoiled her entire family to the point where they don't value her. And that is because love without limits becomes labor, right? And I think Black women, women of color maybe, but Black women in particular, really need to learn that. It sounds beautiful to love without limits, but then when you become the mammy and the mule, you end up having resentment. So Venus in Capricorn really asks us to evaluate and think about how it is that we can love in ways that allow us to show up in our self-respect and also take care of ourselves, okay? So this is a really good transit for renegotiating your relationships and your roles in those relationships, especially where one person has been carrying too much or one person has way too many expectations, okay? Some shadow expressions to watch out for with this particular transit. Let me back up. So overall, this is an influence that asks us to think about choosing quality over quantity. It asks us to really ground our dreams in real world concrete plans, right? Capricorn likes concrete plans. They like direction. They don't like getting lost in abstractions. This is a time to really seriously reflect on the year ahead and think about things that are proven and sustainable, okay? Now, some shadow expressions that we need to be aware of. Capricorns can come off really, really cold, right? I'm grateful that every Capricorn I've ever met and that's in my life fucks with me heavy. So I've never really expressed like the cold, detached aspects of them. But sometimes there is an emotional coldness that comes up as a result of fear of vulnerability. So be careful if you start to feel yourself acting that way, or if you see that in other people. Another shadow expression to be mindful of is you may find yourself staying in situations or commitments out of obligation rather than alignment. Again, Capricorns are very loyal, fathers of the zodiac. They will suffer, literally. They will literally suffer out of loyalty. And so asking yourself, whether or not something is to your benefit is going to be really, really important. If it's not aligned with you, let it go. Staying in situations out of obligation can lead to resentment over time, right? Also, you got to be careful about equating worth solely with productivity or usefulness, as well as having over control in your love relationships or your finances. Again, hyperfixation on productivity can cause Capricorns to ignore everything else, right? So again, I'm talking a lot about the nature of Capricorns, but Venus is going to be in Capricorn for everybody. So it doesn't matter where your Venus placement is. It doesn't matter where your sun sign is. This is about what are the lessons around love, value, and money that Capricorn has to teach us. So all of us children of the earth can learn from this, okay? So again, this is a great time to define your relationships very clearly in terms of expectation. It's a great time to set financial intentions that are sustainable. It's also a great time to commit to long-term self-care practices and to release guilt around prioritizing stability and rest. It's not a time to overwork yourself. Bertal, don't say anything smart. Okay, so that is Venus in Capricorn. I'm going to talk a little bit about this full moon in Cancer that starts January 3rd, and then I'm going to break to take readings from the audience if anybody would like a reading, okay? Superzar says, I can already feel this transit in my life. I'm actually looking forward to the energy shifts happening. Okay. Can you look at the placement and tell what area of life it affects you? Yes, by looking at where your Venus is and the house where it's located in your natal chart. Look at the house where your Venus is located, okay? And wherever that house is, the wisdom of Capricorn is going to inform how you need to move or the lessons you need to learn, okay? But again, let's talk about this January 3rd full moon in Cancer so we can go ahead and wrap up for the night, all right? So on January 3rd at 5:03 a.m., the moon is going to move into Cancer, and it's going to be a full moon. This is what's known as the wolf moon, right? And it's a name that refers to wolves howling in the winter, right? So this deals with the themes of survival, community, and inner resiliency while you're dealing with winter, right? Wolves travel in packs. They are pack communal animals. So it makes sense that during a wolf full moon, issues around community, issues around collectivity come to the forefront, right? Wolves are natural survivors. They are very resilient animals. So again, issues of survival coming to the forefront. Issues of inner resiliency coming to the forefront with this full moon in Cancer on January 3rd. Astrologically, this full moon in Cancer is happening opposite the sun in Capricorn. That's a polarity, okay? And if you've taken any of my astrology classes, you know what a polarity is. Polarities are important. So when you have a sun in Capricorn and a full moon in Cancer, this highlights emotions, care, and home life at the same time that it's in opposition to ambition, structure, and public responsibilities. Home life being the domain of Cancer, public responsibility and public persona being the domain of Capricorn, okay? So some key themes that are going to come up: emotional awareness and care. The energy of Cancer is going to intensify our feelings about belonging, family, and security. Those of you who don't live close to your family, you're going to have a sense of longing to reconnect with them. So don't be surprised if you're on the phone all day and night with your people, right? The family members you may not have been checking in on during the holidays, you're going to feel called to reach out to them. This is also a time where we look at the balance between heart and duty, right? heart and duty. Again, Capricorn being the heart, not Capricorn, Cancer being the heart and Capricorn being the duty, right? Capricorn asks us to consider responsibilities and achievements, while Cancer pulls us inward towards comfort and emotional safety. You also may feel really, really nostalgic under this energy, okay? Full moons often bring culmination, clarity, or closure. And this one is going to reveal what you truly value in your connections, where your emotional boundaries may be needed, and really reflecting on the relationships past or present that really honored your emotional boundaries, okay? So this is a full moon that really highlights needs for emotional nourishment and belonging. It encourages closure around family dynamics, home projects, and personal roots. So don't be surprised if you reconcile with some people in your family. It also enhances intuition because Cancer is highly intuitive, right? So your sensitivity is going to be very high. And that sensitivity and intuition is going to give you the opportunity to really reflect on past experiences and figure out what you need to learn in order to be heart-centered, right? A lot of hidden feelings or long-held emotional patterns are going to be ready to be released with this full moon in Cancer as well, okay? So the lunar rulership of Cancer at this time gives us an extra emotional intensity. So it's going to be a really good time for inner work, cultivating self-compassion, and really strengthening the bonds that support you, okay? So again, the main thing is that balancing your emotional needs with responsibility and long-term vision while honoring the past without being ruled by it. That is one of the gifts that Cancer gives us. So especially if you have any resentments towards family, any grudges towards people in community, this Cancer is full moon, in full moon. This full moon in Cancer is really going to give you support in being able to release that. So, and I think it's beautiful that we have this at the start of the year, right? January 3rd, so just 2 days after the start of the new year, we're gifted with this really beautiful divine opportunity to really release any grudges or false beliefs that may have accidentally carried their way into the new year, okay? So those are the 3 placements that I wanted to discuss. I hope that this wisdom was helpful for you all. Again, I'm going to break for questions. If there's anybody that wants me to do a 3-card reading for them, either about tonight's new moon, the Venus entering Capricorn on the 24th, or the full moon in Cancer that happens January 3rd, I'm more than happy to do a reading for you. Just go ahead and send your love offering. My Cash App as well as my PayPal, both are scrolling below. Once you send your offering, just put in the comments which of those 3 placements you would like me to read on, and I'll go ahead and do a reading for you. While people are figuring out whether or not they want a reading, I'm just going to go ahead and give you all a few updates on things. So, Astro Hour is amazing for getting general astrological wisdom, but the strongest way to make sure that you are prepared for any placements that are coming up is to have a deep understanding of your natal chart, right? Is to be able to understand the different placements and what they mean. So I give natal chart readings. I'm also doing 2026 forecast readings. Those are limited offerings, the forecast readings. Those are only available until the first week of February. So after February 5th, they won't be available. I would like to strongly encourage you to go ahead and book one if you've not already booked it, especially because right now I'm doing a winter sale. I'm doing a winter holiday sale, and I call it the winter holiday sale because everybody don't celebrate Christmas, child. I have Jewish friends. There's Hanukkah, there's Kwanzaa. The New Year's in and of itself is a holiday, right? So if you know you want these readings, go ahead and book them now while you have the opportunity. you can use the code PEACE25 to get an additional 30% off, okay? So that's, and anything you order on my website, any order that's over $65, you can use that code to get 30% off. So I'm encouraging you to book natal chart readings, and I'm encouraging you to get your 2026 forecast readings, but you can use that code to get classes. The Rich Spirit Body Wash is currently on sale for $44.44. Some of you lovely, I was about to call y'all N-words. Some of you lovely people still don't have Christmas gifts or Kwanzaa gifts for your people. You need gifts. I have gift cards. They make an amazing gift to the people you love in your life. Now's a great time to buy a gift card and get 30% off. Save yourself a little money, okay? Also, Rich Spirit will be returning in February. I'll be doing another round of Rich Spirit Prosperity Ritual, February 16th through the 19th. The deadline to sign up for that is February 13th. So if you're interested, go ahead and click the link below in the comments section so that you can learn a little bit more about it and maybe even join us. For those of you who know that you can't do those dates or you don't want to pay to do the ritual on your own, Rich Spirit Body Wash comes with a ritual that you can use. So consider purchasing the Rich Spirit Body Wash while it's on sale for $44.44. That's about $16 less than what it usually costs. And you can get that body wash and do your own prosperity rituals at home, or use it in addition to your prosperity practices to strengthen your manifestations, okay? Those are all of my updates for right now. I see that Tiffany has sent a love offering in, and she wants the full moon reading. She wants to know what the January 3rd full moon in Cancer has in store for her. All right, let me pull that reading up. So again, with the full moon being in Cancer in opposition to Capricorn, this is about emotional grounding and release. So this is going to help you understand what you need to release for the full moon and how it strengthens you, okay? Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits that walk with me. Give us wisdom into the type of emotional release that Tiffany needs for the full moon in Cancer, or on January 3rd. What is the wisdom that the January 3rd full moon in Cancer is meant to bring to her? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. If there is anyone else that would like either a new moon, full moon, or Venus in Cancer reading, go ahead and send in your love offering and put a comment in the comments section so that I know to get to you, okay? So in card 1, position 1, which talks about what's surfacing now, the emotions, memories, or unmet needs that are being illuminated by this particular full moon, we have the Hierophant, right? We love the Hierophant because they're disciplined. They have a lot of wisdom, and their commitment to routine and discipline brings a lot of structure in the lives of people that are blessed to have them around, but they can be a little dogmatic and tyrannical as a result of that. And part of what's surfacing that's going to help you understand your unmet needs is looking at the ways in which you low-key feel like you have to be perfect. You have such a fear of things being unstructured in your life that it puts you in a position where you can't really show up as your whole self. And the unmet need that calls for you is that you don't get to, it's almost like you can't fully be human, right? You don't get to be vulnerable. You don't get to be imperfect. And that's that can be a little crazy making. That's very, very restricting. Okay. In the position of the cost of carrying it, which talks about how is holding onto this emotional pattern impacting your stability goals or sense of safety, we have the Sun card. I just taught a really amazing, yeah, I'm gonna toot my own horn, beep, beep, a really amazing class about tarot and shadow work last night to the patrons. And what happens with a shadow expression of the Sun card, and it makes sense that this is coming up right after the Hierophant, is that the cost of carrying it is that you often have to act like things are better for you than what they are. There's such a fear of letting people down, of not being perfect, that you will perform perfection or perform happiness at times where you don't necessarily feel it authentically. So there's a little bit of a disconnection from your actual feelings, and it comes from a place of letting people down, right? What to release or recommit to. This talks about what must be released or intentionally nurtured to restore emotional security and authority. And I love this for you. Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is not only the card of the romantic, but it's also the card of the creative and the poet, right? I don't know if you write or if it's something you've lost touch with, but you really need to get back into writing. That's where your creative expression lies. That's where you really tap into your most vulnerable self. So you also need to go on some dates, right? You need to be romanced. You need to be kind of coddled in that way. And both messages are coming up. So what you need to recommit to is understanding that all work, no play makes Jane a dull girl, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the discipline and the structure all the time for everybody. You get to have a little joy and levity and luxuriate in your creativity and allow your creativity to bring you to exploration the same way that everyone else does, okay? So that is your full moon in Cancer reading. And I hope you really take that wisdom and prepare for it. You got 2 whole weeks to let that wisdom inform any spiritual workings or manifestations or breakthrough you do once January 3rd gets here. So I hope that was helpful for you, Tiffany. Superzar has a question. Can rich spirit cohorts be done consecutively? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. I have people that will do rich spirit back to back. And a lot of times it's because, I mean, you've done it, so you know that there's a lot of revelation. There's a lot of questions that get answered. So what happens is, even though people do get the things that they want in between, sometimes people end up refining their petitions, refining what it is that they want. So it's not uncommon for people to do them consecutively. You absolutely can. I don't encourage it for everybody, but if it's something that you feel called to, you definitely can do it. And I've had people do it before. I've definitely been avoiding love and intimacy. Yeah, and I think based on the 2 cards that came up in the beginning, it's because there's a part of you that feels like it would be another area of responsibility for you. So allow yourself, again, really meditate and reflect over that Knight of Cups and think about the joy and the whimsy and the creativity that romance and intimacy can give you. It's not just about responsibility, you know? Someone else did send an offering in, so just give me 1 second to see who that was so that I can do their question. Sinidra wants a new moon reading. So Sinidra wants to know what's going on with her tonight. And this is slightly different from the last reading, so this will be fun. This looks at truths and trajectory, new moon in Sagittarius. This is going to tell you a lot about how to seek truth and how that truth brings you to expansion, okay? Sisters, angels, Spirits to walk with me. What wisdom does the new moon in Sagittarius have for Sanidra? What is the wisdom that the new moon in Sagittarius is trying to provide her with that will allow her to move forward with strength and expansion? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. If there's anyone else that would like a reading, either a Venus in Capricorn, a new moon, or a full moon reading, go ahead and send in your love offering. I know that some of you guys are used to me reading for free on Sundays. I can't read for free all day, every day, and I feel like 11:11 is a fair offering to request. Also, you'll be spiritually stuck if all you rely on is free readings. There was a group on Facebook that I had to leave because that's all it was. It's literally 6,000 people in that group, and all they do is pop up, can I get my free reading? I want my free reading for the week. Can I get a free reading? It's so draining. Energy exchange is important, not only because it's respectful, but it shows the spirits that you're serious about the information you're trying to get, okay? So in the position of the truth, seeking to be acknowledged, which talks about the belief, insight, or inner knowing that's being asked to be honored right now, we have the Knight of Pentacles. So you are very observant. You're very observant. You see everything, even things that people don't want you to see. But there's a part of you that's like in denial about how perceptive you are. And I don't know if it's because people have gone off on you in the past for seeing things that they didn't want you to see. But there's a lot of wisdom and strength in being the Knight of Pentacles. There's a lot of strength and skill in the precision required to be in a Knight of Pentacles energy, where you are stealthy and observant and able to plan based on those observations, right? So this is a truth, it's a belief and an insight that you really need to honor rather than be ashamed of, okay? In the position of the illusion or limitation that needs to be released. This is the belief, fear, or distraction that keeps you from fully stepping into this new path, okay? Again, I know I keep referencing the class I taught last night, but it was fucking good. I'm really proud of myself. We have Temperance. And even though it's upright, it's showing up as a shadow for you. When Temperance shows up as a shadow, it represents somebody who dissolves into the background very easily. Someone who struggles with codependence. Someone who doesn't really like to take up a lot of space. So they'll hide. They'll hide behind people, or they'll hide in groups and situations. So for you, this is a limitation because you are so powerful. You are so smart. You know more than you let people know you know, Sanidra. And you have to get out of this pattern of dissolving into the background and hiding because it's not serving you. It's not allowing you to expand in the ways in which you need to, okay? Final card, the seed to plant for the next lunar cycle. We have the Five of Swords. This is about the intention, action, or mindset that's going to help you expand wisely and with purpose. We have the Five of Swords. I love that we started with the Knight of Pentacles for you and we're ending with Five of Swords. You have a divine opportunity to really look at the patterns that victimize you in your life and to pivot. Five of Swords can be a painful energy because it represents sometimes like a loss or something that we suffered that we just didn't fucking like, right? But it's also, with it being a five, it's an opportunity to pivot. And it's an opportunity to reevaluate our strategy so that we win the larger war. We get through the battle and we win the larger war, right? So this Five of Swords being here, along with this Knight of Pentacles, a huge part of the seed that you need to plant is giving yourself to be more strategic. You don't have to be self-sacrificial. It's okay to move with strategy, because when we move with strategy, we're protecting ourselves as opposed to leaving ourselves open to attack from the enemy, okay? I hope that this resonated with you, Sinidra. I hope that this was helpful. Let me know if that resonated with you or if you have any follow-up question about anything that came up, okay? I don't see anyone else. Is there anyone else that would like a reading? If so, go ahead and send your love offering in now. You can get a reading on tonight's new moon in Sagittarius, the Venus in Cancer transit that starts on the 24th, or you can get a reading on the full moon in Cancer. Yes, the full moon in Cancer that starts on January 3rd, okay? The more I stood out, the more issues I had with people. And we can talk more about that in your one-on-one readings. I, too, am a recovering dissolver of groups, dissolving into groups. I'm actively recovering from that. I literally spent most of my 30s working through that. And that's why I'm able to stand confidently the way that I am in my 40s now, right? And it was a very similar thing. The more space I took up, the more people would get jealous and attack me. The answer is not to run and hide. The answer is to not give a fuck, right? And I think that's a skill. That's a muscle you have to build. But we can talk more about what that looks like for you in your one-on-one readings. Okay, Nicole, just let me know. I know you'll send the love offering. I trust you. So just let me know which of the readings you want. Do you want the new moon, full moon, or the Venus in Capricorn reading? And if there's anyone else that wants a reading, go ahead and send your love offering now so that way I can go ahead and take care of you, okay? Nicole, you said both. There's 3 options tonight. I know you're used to there being 2, but there's 3 options tonight. So I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, there's 3. So I'm going to go ahead and start with, I'm going to assume you want the new moon. So I'm going to start with that one. And then you tell me what the other reading is that you want, okay? Okay. And Super Zara wants a reading too. Super Zara, I'll get you after. Okay. You want all 3. All right. Nicole going to put me to work. After I'm done with Nicole, I'll do you, Super Zara. And if there's anyone else after Super Zara that would like a reading, just let me know. So we're going to go in order for you, Nicole. We're going to start with this new moon in Sagittarius, okay? Ancestors, angels, and master spirits walk with me. What wisdom does the new moon in Sagittarius have to give Nicole at this time? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. I may have to turn my screen off at some point so that I can turn the air conditioner on. And I'll let you know when I'm doing that so that way you guys aren't distracted. Oh, I love this. The seed to plant for your next lunar cycle, which talks about the intention, action, or mindset that's going to help you expand wisely with purpose. We have the 8 of Wands, and I love that for you. 8 of Wands, Cupid's arrows. Romance is going to be really heavy for you, but also 8 of Wands is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. It's a lot of opportunity really, really coming your way, and it's the ability to move quickly with it. I get that you're a person that really likes to, Spirit says dilly-dally. I don't know. I love that language, but I don't know why they're saying it. You, in an ideal world, you would be able to take all the time in the world to make decisions, right? But part of what this lunar cycle is meant to teach you is that it's okay to move quickly. It's okay to trust your initial instinct, right? Your instincts don't need to be justified. You are more than capable of making in the moment decisions, and those decisions really propelling you forward, right? Look at this beautiful bird. Nothing is stopping it, right? In the second position of the illusion or limitation that you need to release, which talks about the belief, fear, or distraction that is keeping you from fully stepping into the new path, we have the Queen of Pentacles, and I love her. I absolutely love her. She's not my favorite of the queens, but she's the one I admire the most. And I know that may sound like the same thing. It's actually not. She is very nurturing, but she's also very business. She attracts a lot of financial favor. But in her debilitation, she can get really wrapped up and lost in taking care of everybody, right? You guys know that the Game of Thrones deck is one of my favorite decks. I actually have it right here. And Lady Olenna, for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, Lady Olenna is represented as the Queen of Pentacles, which I thought was perfect. Because this lady literally in the whole film was running around minding everybody else's business, doing all this willing and dealing for her nieces and nephews and shit, right? What does that have to do with you? Well, sometimes Queen of Pentacles women can get lost in taking care of everybody else. And the illusion or the limitation that you need to release is this tendency towards overgiving, this tendency towards losing yourself and making sure that everybody else is taken care of and that everybody has their material needs. Be careful about that, okay? In terms of the seed that you need to plant for the next lunar cycle, which talks about the intention, action, or mindset that's going to help you expand with purpose, we have the Justice card, baby. I love this for you. Moving with accountability will get you far. Moving with accountability and purpose will get you very, very far. Justice card is a card of accountability. It's a card about getting back what you put into a situation, but at the core, it's about making sure that you're moving in a way that's honorable so that way you always get honorable results out of life, right? And that's the seed that you need to plant. I will go further because I've done a lot of readings for you. I feel like this is a seed you already planted. You just need to continue to water it. Continue to water a dynamic of making sure that you are accountable and that you're giving in situations in ways that you want to receive back. But again, there's a warning. Don't overgive, right? We have that Queen of Pentacles. So that's your new moon in Sagittarius reading. Let's see what Venus in Capricorn has in store for you. I think you're my first Venus in Capricorn reading tonight. And I'm excited because I really wanted to do this reading for somebody. I always call myself a Chiron priestess, and I very much am. But I'm also a Venus priestess. I think Venus is such an important planet. And people only think about it in terms of romance. But there's so much wisdom in the feminine of Venus. So let's see. Ancestors, what does the Venus in Capricorn transit have in store for Nicole? What is this transit here to teach her? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. She should have been the hand of the queen. Yeah, at some point I have to have like just a nerd hour where we talk about all my favorite shows and comic books and shit. But if Cersei was not such a fucking hateful bitch, and if she had the capacity to get along with women, Lady Olenna would have been a perfect hand of the queen. Perfect hand of the queen. But Cersei hates women. She fucking hates other women. And she saw every other woman as a threat. But she would have been amazing. I also have a belief that the only reason why Cersei ended up fucking her brother and having that long-lasting ancestral relationship is because she really wanted to be him. Cersei wanted to be Jaime, and she was resentful that she wasn't born a boy. I deeply believe that. Conversation for another day, but we do need to have a Game of Thrones discussion. I may host like a little Game of Thrones discussion or something on the Patreon, but we need to have Game of Thrones rewatches. How can I tie that into spirituality? Super Czar. Yeah, you can send the difference so that you can get more than one reading. Absolutely, Super Czar. No worries. So for Venus in Capricorn, very first card, what is worth committing to? This looks at the relationships, value habits or investments that are truly worthy of your long-term energy at this moment. I love this. I love this. King of Pentacles. So, okay, I don't know if anybody's been watching Welcome to Deary. I know you guys are like, get off your nerd shows. But this card has a special meaning to me now that I've been watching Welcome to Deary. What you need to be focusing on and committing to is your family, is your legacy. Right now, the main thing that's important for you with this Venus energy is focusing on your legacy, right? Your business, your children, your husband, everything that's related to that. King of Pentacles is the card of legacy. And the reason why he works so hard is to be able to give those closest to him, his Queen of Pentacles, his page, everything that they need and desire. So really, really focusing on your legacy. In addition to that, right? I don't know if it's been like a long time since you've like gotten your hair done or bought yourself a new, they're saying a new coat, or like bought yourself something new in terms of King of Pentacles is flashy, right? They don't work that fucking hard to not be able to wear the finest things, have the finest shoes, get the nicest haircuts. So yes, working hard for your legacy and your family is great, but it would behoove you to use this Venusian energy to buy yourself something nice, even if that something nice is just a really good massage, right? Something that allows you to really be tapped into your sensuality again, because the pentacles are the body, right? And the sensuality of beautification and of spoiling us really, really helps us. That's a lesson of King of Pentacles. People think that in order to be successful, it's all work all the time. No, scheduling and planning your care and spoiling yourself is just as important as scheduling and planning your work, okay? In the position of the boundary that protects your worth, which talks about the boundary, standard, or limitation that must be upheld to honor your value, we have the Star card. You have hope and faith in a lot of things that other people don't understand, right? And sometimes the more you try to explain the things you care about or have faith in to other people, the more they may speak doubt to you. So having boundaries around your faith is going to be very deeply important for you, not just in the Venus and Cancer transit, but just in general. Protect your faith, protect your sense of hope, because people who don't have hope will go out of their way to try to kill it in those who have it, okay? In the position of how to build sustainable love or abundance, I love this for you. Love, love, love this for you. This talks about practical steps that will help you cultivate lasting security, respect, and fulfillment. Do what you mean what you say, and be unapologetic about it, right? Knight of Swords. They are so deeply committed to their sense of purpose that they don't really give a fuck about what other people think. They will literally run over people and treat them like collateral damage. You need to really give yourself permission to embrace being unapologetic, right? There's a part of you that sometimes holds your tongue because you're afraid of hurting other people's feelings. But again, we go back to the Star card. Unfortunately, don't give a fuck about hurting yours, right? So allowing yourself to be much more comfortable with not only the expression of what you want verbally, but being comfortable with not having other people being in agreement with you. That's something that that's a boundary you really need to hold. I'm not going to hold my tongue for anybody. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to be committed to what I want, even if other people don't understand it, okay? All right. Let's see. There's a lot of spiritual stuff. Stephen King is a bad motherfucker. He really is. I'm rereading It. And the crazy thing is I wasn't even an It fan before this show. I read the book like maybe 15 years ago and I was like, what the fuck is this? I've watched half of an It movie in the past, but something about that show has really, really gotten me back. I love a lot of Stephen King's other work. Let's talk about this full moon in Cancer for Nicole, and then we'll go ahead and do a couple of other readings for other people. Let's see. All right. So this is a reading that looks at emotional grounding and release. Okay. Sisters, angels, ascended masters, spirits will walk with me. Queen of Pentacles fell out again. She keeps talking to you, Nicole. I don't know if you have a tarot deck with you, but you may want to put it on your altar or at least light a candle over it. Or just sometimes if a card keeps coming up for me, I'll sleep with the card under my pillow. So you may want to take the next week to sleep with Queen of Pentacles under your pillow. Ancestors, angels, ascended masters, spirits will walk with me. What does the January 3rd full moon in Cancer have in store for Nicole? What is the wisdom that it has to give her? What are the lessons that it wants to pour into her? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Aisha, if you're still here, let me know if you got your forecast link. I feel like I feel like Bertal gonna cuss me out. She told me to sit down earlier. I was really busy and trying to get things out to people, and I feel like I texted it to you, but if I didn't, let me know, so that way when I get off of here, I can make sure you get it, okay? Okay, I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna trust it. We have the King of Pentacles in the exact same position, but it's a different spread, which is interesting. What is surfacing now? What emotions, memories, or unmet needs are being illuminated by the full moon? The full moon in Cancer is really going to have you thinking about your legacy, thinking about how you show up and set up stability, not only for yourself in your lifetime, but the example that you set for the generations after you, right? And it's full, well-rounded lessons. So it's not just about your work history, but giving the people that are around you who admire you wisdom about how to take care of yourself, how to explore the world, right? The cost of carrying it. How is holding on to an emotional pattern impacting your stability, goals, or your sense of safety? We have the Ace of Pentacles. So it's funny because the language of these questions may sound negative, but they're not. Spirit is going to continue to gift you with a lot of opportunity because you think about legacy, right? Because you prioritize what it is you're leaving behind in terms of habits, pattern, and memory. Don't be surprised, especially what I'm feeling is that there's because you work for self, so it's not technically promotion. But don't be surprised if between now and mid-February, some sort of new contract or opportunity gets gifted to you. And it's something that literally positions you to build further on your legacy, okay? What you need to release or recommit to during the January 3rd full moon. What needs to be released or nurtured to restore emotional security and inner authority. We have the King of Wands, and I love this. You don't brag on yourself enough. I know that may sound like a random thing to say, but the King of Wands is a braggart, for better or for worse, right? The best expression of it, and my favorite expression of it, is that they are so confident in their legacy, in their contributions to the world, that they're always enrolling people in their vision, right? And people want to do for them. People want to see them win. People want to really be on their teams. That's why they're known as the politicians of the tarot deck, right? Because what are politicians doing? They're shaking hands, they're kissing babies, they're getting people to really believe in their vision of government or of a collective community. At the core, a King of Wands is somebody who is so deeply confident that not only do they show up energetically in their power, they're always speaking their power. So what you need to really recommit to with this January 3rd full moon is you really need to recommit to being very unapologetically confident, not just about who you are, but of your vision for the world and how hard you work, right? Because that's what's really going to put you in a position where not only are you always enrolling people in your vision, but it brings you closer to like-minded people who have the similar goals and who will help you execute your goals, okay? So those are the readings for Nicole. Superzar, I know that you wanted the Venus reading, but what was the other reading you wanted as well? Let me know. Let me know so that way I can make sure that the proper reading is getting done. Let me know, okay? Which was the other reading you wanted done? I'm getting distracted by text messages. I apologize tremendously. We'll start with your Venus reading, and then you can tell me what the second reading was that you wanted, okay? So this looks at Venus entering Capricorn on December 24th, and this is for Superzar. If there's anyone else that would like a reading, go ahead and send your love offering and put in the comments which of the readings you would like. Ancestors, angels, and master spirits that walk with me. Please let me know what wisdom Venus entering Capricorn on the 24th will show up and come forward for Aisha. How is this transit meant to teach and guide her? What is the wisdom that will come to her as a result of this transit? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. Awesome. Put the queen under your pillow. Great idea. I have a new deck. And intuitively, impulsively, I want to say I hate it. And I've been sleeping with it for the past couple of days just to try and get adjusted to it. But remember how when I don't know how many of you guys have been around this long. When I first got Afro Anime, I was like, I fucking hate this deck. It's not good. And now I'm obsessed with it. Now y'all probably tired of seeing it, right? So sometimes it's just a matter of time and sitting with some cards that will be able to get you attached to them. Okay. What is worth committing to? That's card 1. This talks about the relationship, value, habit, or investment that is truly worthy of your long-term energy right now. Queen of Wands. I feel like even in your private readings, this has come up a lot. This has come up quite a bit for you, right? Emotional confidence. And when we hear emotional confidence, a lot of times we think, oh, well, I believe I'm pretty or I believe I'm valuable. Those are all necessary parts of it. But a lot of times emotional confidence is just having the confidence to take up space and not let people convince you that you need to cower or be quiet or go away, right? So a huge part of what you need to commit to right now and what you really need to seek value in terms of your long-term energy is learning to be comfortable with taking up space. And Queen of Wands energy is really good at ignoring the haters. They're really good at ignoring people that don't want them to sit on their throne. They're really good at blocking that out and almost to a certain degree feeling sorry for those idiots. That's the energy that you really need to commit to right now, right? There's a lot of change coming into your life. And the last thing you need is people trying to convince you that you have to show up smaller or take up less space or have less opinions, okay? The boundary that protects your worth. What boundary, standard, or limitation must you uphold to honor your value? The divine feminine, the empress. You are somebody who energetically is a creator, right? You are somebody who you need to really hold boundaries around your value and your ability to manifest. And I don't know if you've been feeling like you've had struggles with manifesting, but a lot of that may have to do with the fact that you're not really nurturing that belief that you are a manifester, that things are supposed to come to you easy, that joy is your birthright, that having joy and having things puts you in a position where you get to be creative and birth new opportunities, birth new ways of being, right? That's something you really need to nurture and hold boundaries around. You really need to nurture your feminine Honor your feminine at this time. How to build sustainable love or abundance. What practical step will help you cultivate lasting security, respect, and fulfillment? King of Swords. Everybody's not going to understand you. Everybody's not going to understand you. Everyone isn't smart enough to understand you. That may sound arrogant, but again, if you do your Queen of Wands work, you won't give a fuck about how arrogant that sounds, right? Not everybody is smart enough to understand you. Not everybody deserves or is capable of being able to sit at a table with you. Everybody shouldn't have access to you, okay? A lot of times we can be overly accessible because we want to be loving. And we think that accessibility is love. It's not. When people have too much access to you, they devalue you. So not in the King of Swords, again, traditional representations, he's on a throne. The throne is on a fucking cloud. And that's to represent the fact that everybody can't get to him. Everybody ain't on his level. So a huge part of what you really need to embrace in order to maintain sustainable love, let people miss you. Let people work hard to get close to you. Let them put themselves in a position where they actively have to make a sacrifice and they have to make a mental, intellectual shift in order to get closer to you. Because if they do that, they'll value you much, much more. Okay? Let's see. You're spot on. Okay, good. I'm glad that those were helpful for you. Now let's do your full moon reading, okay? If there's anyone else that would like a reading that has not gotten a reading yet, go ahead and send in your offering and then put which of the readings you want in the comment section. That's the oldest daughter issue. I had to train myself out of that myself. And if you were here at the beginning of the reading, you've heard me say that I've even had to cuss out clients this week, right? For assuming or feeling entitled to too much accessibility from me. I think it's common amongst older daughters. I don't know any other way to say it. But it's something that you can teach yourself to not do. And the more you practice it, the better it feels, okay? Let's look at your full moon reading. This is looking at what the full moon on January 3rd has to teach you in terms of emotional grounding and release. Ancestors, angels, sisters, and master spirits to walk with me. What is the wisdom that the full moon in Cancer on January 3rd has to offer Aisha? What will this moon help her release? What does that release clear space for in her life in terms of blessing and opportunity? Any wisdom shared is deeply appreciated. If there's anyone else that would like a new moon, full moon, or Venus in Capricorn reading, go ahead and send your 1111 love offering in and then write in the comments section which reading you would like to get. For those of you who overpaid, I see you. May God bless you. You are too precious. Everyone else, if you want a reading, go ahead and send your love offering in. Hi, Mademoiselle. What is surfacing now? What is surfacing now? What emotions, memories, or unmet needs are being illuminated by this full moon? We have the Hermit. Be careful if the days leading up to the full moon, you feel a need to isolate. Be very, very, very careful about that. Especially if that isolation is not bringing you closer to personal reflection, right? Personal reflection is necessary. It is. Again, I think there's particular ways in which you have very, very often, if not always, have had to prioritize the needs and perspectives of other people over your own. And a lot of times when Hermit comes up, it's asking us to retreat inward, so that we can get back to center, back to self, back to an awareness of what we want and need. And so that is something that's going to be very necessary for you during the January 3rd full moon in Cancer. But just be careful to make sure that it doesn't turn into you trying to escape from the world, right? Let it be productive. Let it bring you closer to wisdom, all right? What is the cost of carrying this belief this belief that the only way that you can have peace is through escape? What's the cost of that? It's draining you. It's not bringing you peace. In fact, it's bringing you the opposite. It's putting you in constant survival mode, right? Four Swords is about rest and recuperation so that we can take on the next battle. But when it's in debilitation, it's somebody who is avoiding taking care of themselves, somebody who feels like they don't have the time or the capacity to really nurture and rejuvenate the ways in which they need to, right? So this is an emotional pattern that's really impacting your stability because you're not taking the things you need for yourself. Even when you take time off and you say you're going to use it to rest and recuperate, you fucking don't. You just get distracted with everybody else's shit, right? What do you need to release or recommit to? What must be released or intentionally nurtured to restore emotional? Your ancestors are really, I didn't expect your people. Oh God. I love you, Aisha, but I didn't expect your court to really get into you this way in a 3-card reading. What do you need to release or recommit to? 7 of Swords. There are certain patterns of self-sabotage you engage in. There are certain patterns of self-sabotage. And that self-sabotage is rooted in worrying about taking care of everybody else over yourself, right? So the 7 of Swords is coming up saying that you need to release self-betrayal in order to restore your emotional security. In order for you to be able to practice tap into your inner authority, you have to stop self-sabotaging by convincing yourself that everyone else's wants, needs, and problems are somehow more important than yours, okay? January 1st is my mother's transition date, so I have to make up for it later. So as somebody who lost their mother, and I was gonna say I was a big mama's girl. I still am. Like may she rest in perfect peace, has been an ancestor for more than 15 years, and I am still a big mama's baby, okay? I will say this to you. Give yourself permission to develop rituals that you do on and around the date of her transition. That will help you tremendously in terms of avoiding self-isolation, because that self-isolation, especially when it's so close or deeply linked to something big like the loss of your mother, it can spiral into depression very easily. And I had to learn that the hard way the first couple of years after she passed. So it's been really helpful and healing for me to be like, okay, I'm going to get to the river or the ocean. I'm going to get to water somewhere. And when I'm at that water, I'm going to write a letter to my mama. And I'm going to play her some Gerald Levert or some Joe. She loved the R&B singer Joe. Don't judge my mama. I don't care if the white people be staring at me because I'm at the river playing Joe hella loud. But I'm going to do these things to honor her because it helps me not only stay closer to her, it pulls me out of isolation, right? And we can talk more one-on-one about what that looks like. But I'm a big advocate of having rituals in place, having practices in place when it gets close to somebody's transition date. Because not only does it help you in terms of connecting with their ancestral energy, it's good for you. It's good for you, okay? All right, is there anyone that I missed? Is there anyone that would like either a new moon, full moon, or Venus in Capricorn reading before I go ahead and wrap up for the night? If there's anyone else, let this be the final call. If we're at a bar, if this is a happy hour, then this is final call. Is there anyone else that I may have missed that would like a reading? If so, go ahead and let me know. Put a comment in the comment section and I'll take care of you. If not, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for the evening. I want to thank everybody that joined tonight. Again, I know that we typically do these Thursdays, but child, next week, Christmas is going to be on a Thursday. And then New Year's is going to be on a Thursday. And don't nobody want to listen to me on no damn holiday. Please go be with your families and do things to celebrate. I know that I definitely will. So thank you for joining me this Friday. I'll be back next Friday for a happy hour reading, okay? So we'll go back, probably we'll return back to the Thursday schedule once January rolls around. But again, I really, really, really want to thank all of you who did come here and who did join me tonight. I may offer the opportunity for the full moon and Venus and Capricorn readings on Sunday when we do the weekly energy reading, just in case there's anybody that got here late or didn't get to submit their love offering tonight and they need a little more time. Again, want to remind you all, winter sale is going on. Any order on my website, whether it's a reading, purchase of an amulet, purchase of a body wash or oil, whatever it is, if you make a purchase over $65 on my website and you use the discount code PEACE25, you can get 30% off of your order, okay? And I do have gift cards on my website. So if you have a spiritual person in your life and you know that they would like a reading or they would like a potion, but you don't know what to give them a gift card. Let them choose to come to the website and choose what they want for themselves, okay? That's all for now. Patreon, that amazing, wonderful tarot and shadow work class that I told you about. If you're interested in finding out how amazing it was, because everybody who was there last night that was in the chat tonight affirmed it was a dope-ass class. If you're interested in actually seeing the class so that you can see how dope it was on your own, join my Patreon. The link to my Patreon is below. Everybody who has a paid Patreon membership gets access to the live streams of the class. Everybody from Friendship Circle and higher gets access to the replays of the class, okay? Love you all. Have an amazing weekend. I will see you all on Sunday. Have a good night. Take care.